Well, that's
pretty lame.
to me, the gathering, to say like, yeah, magic, it's about the gathering, is a little live, laugh, love. But it is true. It's very fair.
I hate whatever that, I don't, shut up. No, you shut up.
Shattered. I was like, how could you say that? I still think about that to this day.
Let's see the masters.
But then like masters, right? The exact opposite, because they're like mad respect.
Oh yeah.
Shake.
The hug. Always the hug.
Double hug. Now, I obviously needed to wear as many gold chains as possible. But why would I wear them on my neck? My hand is injured. I was wearing crucifixes and any, like, whatever. Like my St. Anthony's medallion from when I was baptized. All of it on my hands.
Your commander sucks.
Whoa, that's not true. It's very fair. It's very fair.
I hate whatever that, I don't, shut up. No, you shut up. No. All right, welcome to the Grappling Review. My name is Gabe, and today I'm joined by Ant.
What's up?
Ant, why don't you introduce yourself, where you train at and all that stuff?
Yeah, my name is Anthony Giordano. I train here at the dojo, and also I teach and train at Clockwork Jiu Jitsu in Manhattan.
So, we're going to have a super casual conversation. I asked you if there was anything that was off limits, and you said no.
Not that I can think of.
So, the big question everybody wants to know is, one, is autism in jiu-jitsu real?
Oh, absolutely.
And two, how do you get good at jiu-jitsu if you don't have autism?
If you don't have autism.
If you don't have autism.
So if you start macro dosing on Tylenol, I hear there's hope. But I think all jokes aside, it's pretty straightforward. It just takes a while, and you do have to be dedicated to the process. You simply have to study, you have to drill. But I think one of the things that gets in a lot of people's way, especially when trying to kind of incorporate new techniques, is they very quickly fall back on the things that they already rely on. I see this very commonly. When you're trying to incorporate new techniques, which of course is the process of expanding and getting better at the overall sport, I think you kind of have to sideline a couple of the old patterns temporarily and be a little bit more comfortable with losing in the training room in the like immediate shorter term for that long-term growth to really take place. I think that's something that people kind of get in their own way of sometimes.
And I think with that answer, you've answered the question that everybody wants to know is, do you have autism?
Oh, hell yeah.
So like, all right, so the thing is that like, it's funny because like, there's kind of like this running joke that we have here at the dojo, you know, that, you know, with Fred saying that you got a little bit of autism.
Play it up.
That's what I was going to say. Like, you know, the real truth is you don't have the tism. You're just good at jiu-jitsu and good at magic.
Yeah, I'm kind of mid at both, but I'm aspiring to be pretty good at both.
Yeah, I mean, as you guys can see, we have like a whole magic table set up over here. We're just trying to get a game in before we started filming and all that. We're halfway through the game, but I'm new to magic. Ant is the guy that got me into magic, and you know, it's kind of, we have like an interesting kind of path to how we kind of got together and became friends and all that stuff. Everything kind of started with during the pro trainings, right?
Ooh.
How did you actually get to the dojo?
So it was actually like really serendipitous. So
God, I love that word.
About 2-ish years ago, it was right before the Pan Ams, and I finally moved from Staten Island to Bushwick. And so it was like...
Wait, hold up. You were going to Clockwork from Staten Island?
Yeah, for like 7 years, hour-and-a-half commute, door to door, 6 days a week, like hour-and-a-half there, hour-and-a-half home. It was crazy.
Jesus Christ.
But I finally moved to Brooklyn, and specifically Bushwick, maybe about 2-ish years ago. And I remember I moved in roughly 3 weeks before the Pans. So it was my first tournament after moving to Brooklyn. And it was the first time that I'd met you and Josh Melendez, like in person. But I'd recognized both of you as like New York grapplers, just like Instagram, real life. And I had just had my second match. I think I went 1-1 that year or whatever. And I was near the bullpen and I noticed Josh and I was kind of like, hey, what's up? You're a New Yorker, and kind of got to talking. and the invitation was extended. And when I realized,
Oh, that's right. It was Josh that
I had
brought
no
you in,
idea
right?
that
Yeah.
the Star Street location,
Yeah.
and I mean this location as well, but either way, it's 10-minute walking from my apartment. And I was like, oh man, there's jiu-jitsu right here, and kind of the rest from there, just history.
Yeah,
It was
because for a
awesome.
while you were coming through you came to the open mats and
Yeah.
we had the pro trainings and
Yeah.
stuff. And then eventually just kind of, you know, we would kind of like be at all the same tournaments. I would, you know, help coach whenever, you know, there was an opportunity to help coach and stuff. But then you and Josh were always in the same division for a few times. But you guys haven't fought against each other, right?
The closest we ever got was each of us, if each of
Masters?
us had won like our next round, we would have fought each other.
That was
I
at
think.
Masters, right?
Yeah, that was at Masters Worlds, not this year, but the year before this. And for whatever twist of fate, we haven't run into each other's paths yet. But we talked about this once before. I think we would probably like just go out and scrap the same way we do in the training
Yeah, I
room.
mean, you know, that's
I mean, to be 100% honest, if my tournament's going to have to end to somebody, I would rather it be a friend than someone else. So
that's an interesting topic because I think I've never been a fan of like students competing against each other.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like in most situations, as friendly as you guys can be and all that stuff, I feel like there's still like, even like if there's a 1% chance that you go back to the gym and you're like, you know what, I lost to my homie, but I need to figure out how to beat him next time. You know, even if there's a 1% chance that happens, I feel like that's like the little bit of oil that tarnishes the well, right?
Yeah.
You know,
I
at
can
least
totally
that's how
see that.
I feel about it.
Yeah.
But I do feel like you and Josh would be able to like totally do a match and not.
I think we'd be
you
able
know.
to navigate that easier than some teammates would, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think another thing is, honestly, like whenever I do go compete, if I do lose a match, then I wish the best for the guy who beat me, and I hope he takes it home. Like if I had to lose, I really hope you do very well. And I tend to, and this is something much newer to me, I guess, or the last handful of years in Masters 1 at least. Masters 1 seems a lot more friendly than when I was in the adult divisions, rather.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've
Masters is
made
a whole different
so
world.
much more friends out of people I've competed with, win or lose, over the last handful of years than I ever did competing as an adult. It was kind of just like you go your separate ways, maybe a little bit of like, man, screw that guy.
It's funny that you mentioned all that. Have you seen this? Like, there's like this old video from like, you know, from Lovato. He did like, you know, it was just a funny video, a funny clip that he put on Instagram and stuff. But it's like the funniest thing on earth because they're just trying to show off like the difference between adults and masters division, and they're just having like a mock match at his gym and hopefully we can find the video and put it up. But it's like, actually, you know what? Let me see if I can find the video right now because it's freaking hilarious.
So I would.
It's so good. Let's see.
But yeah, I find that like the Masters division, I don't know if anyone out there has had like a different experience in their Masters divisions.
I think this is exactly it. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a video that kind of makes fun of that.
At the very minimum, brown belt, Masters 1, featherweights, very welcoming. There have been guys in that division that I've like cold messaged on DMs and like on Instagram, just struck up a conversation asking for advice, and they'll like get back to you, and like it's very welcoming and chill.
All right, perfect. I got the video right here. Alex, you can watch this in a little bit too. So here you got like Lovato. They're trying to show off like what adult division is like.
Lots of posturing.
Yeah, pull guard, come up.
Aggro into not much.
I know. Look at the ref, get the score, win the match, and then kind of just like.
Let's see the Masters.
But then like Masters, right? The exact opposite, because they're like mad respect.
Oh yeah.
Shake.
The hug. Always the hug. Double hug. No, let me guess. They go for
Some like real jiu-jitsu.
That's the other thing is stand up.
Yeah, exactly.
Older guys, for whatever reason, way more willing to stand for, well, maybe featherweight, you still go to the floor pretty quick.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just because, like, actually, we can talk about that in a little bit, but
Love to see a cross collar.
you know what I'm saying? Like, he helps them up.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of like that's what the video's trying to show more.
There's
Is
camaraderie.
the camaraderie and all that stuff, and that's what I'm saying. Like, actually, that's 100% true. Still to this day, if you look at like adults division and stuff like that, like even with people that face each other all the time,
Yeah.
the handshake is kind of like
it's
this and
kinda
whatnot.
half-hearted.
And yeah, it's super half-hearted. You know, they don't really. It's almost like, I mean, part of it is that like they're just super locked in.
Yeah.
You know, on to the next one. I'm here
Yeah.
for like a certain goal. Whereas like I think most people that are competing at the Masters division, they're doing it for the fun and the experience,
Yeah.
not for that ultimate title, because you know the title doesn't. It's not as prestigious as like adult master, adult world champion, right? But still, like it's so funny that there's that stark
Yeah.
difference between the two.
You know, another element that I kind of think I'm realizing more and more as the years go on is when I was younger, whenever I would compete, my competitors that I would have to face, I kind of always viewed them simply as like obstacles that I'm supposed to overcome, circumnavigate, etc.
Yeah.
Whereas like as like I've gotten older and competed more, I kind of come to realize that the other guys that I'm set to compete against probably are going through the exact same things
for sure.
I am. And I kind of see more and more that we understand each other more than I would have given each other credit for when I was younger. Like
Yeah.
I see more of the same attributes in my competitors these days than I used to. Whereas I think I kind of just used to block out and be like, you're simply an obstacle, almost like not a person. Like you're just an obstacle.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
That's
no,
a-
you're
that's
like
an
a
interesting way of
full-on
looking at it,
person.
yeah.
You have similar like desires as I do. We're both here to do the same thing. I bet we have a lot in common, actually.
Yeah.
And I think that that's allowed me to be more open and friendly after the event is over and make these friendships. But I don't know exactly when and how that started, but it certainly started in the Masters division.
Yeah,
for me.
that's for sure. I wonder if it's as a quick flip of a switch as it is just like going from being 29 to being 30.
Maybe. It could be.
Because I do feel that same way.
Yeah.
Hip hopping over to like, you know, what we got in front of us
Yeah.
with Magic and stuff. I think that there's like a really interesting thing that's happening here at the dojo, like this whole like Magic the Gathering crew that we've developed.
Yeah.
You know, now we have like more like literally double digit numbers of students that are into Magic or getting into Magic now. And I don't, it's not necessarily the intention.
Yeah, no,
You know,
not at all.
It literally
It's
was
very
just, it was,
passive.
well, it was literally just like I asked you to like just teach me Magic because I've always wanted to get into it. And one day we just started playing, then we like put it on one of the vlogs.
Yeah.
And after that vlog post, like everyone came out the woodwork, like,
Yeah.
hey, I play Magic too.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when let's meet up and all that stuff.
Even like we were just jamming a game like last weekend or whatever, and a dude who came in for like the trial
Right,
or whatever,
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh, you guys play
Yes.
Magic? I thought I was the only one that knew. I think it's
Dude,
something...
he signed up.
Which is
Yeah, it
great.
was awesome.
That's
Like he
awesome.
came, he did the class, he walked, he walked past the office to go change. He saw we were playing Magic,
Yeah.
and I feel like him seeing us play Magic was the instant like, all right, I'm signing up.
Yeah, right?
You know.
It's, I don't know. I think I feel like there are a lot of small parallels between Magic and Jiu Jitsu. But I think at the end of the day, both of them are just like logic puzzles.
Yeah.
Typically, they have like the 1v1 nature, like I'm trying to beat you, you're trying to beat me. It has a mild competitive element, but I view it as like if my mind still wants to like work on puzzles and problem solve, but my body is tired or resting, this is a great way for me to kind of spend some mental energy
Yeah.
while also like recovering from training.
Well, I mean, the way that I look at it, I look at everything we do when it comes to like jiu-jitsu or playing Magic or, you know, what have you, just like as different versions of chess games, right?
Yeah.
So like these are all just different chess games and stuff. But the thing that's kind of cool to me about like, trading card games like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, which, again, I feel like the nerddom, continues to overflow out of me, I guess. But the one thing that I kind of dig about like Magic is like deck building, right? So like
Oh,
when you're
yeah.
building decks, for those of you guys uninitiated, you can't just throw a bunch of cards together. They have to have like a certain synergy. There's got to be a certain end goal, a strategy, and all that. And I recently was talking to Fred about like how to look at jiu-jitsu and developing your game, and equating it to like Magic. He's just gotten into Magic, just started building decks, and the way I look at it, if a deck is your jiu-jitsu game, there's certain tech, certain styles, certain moves, move sets and stuff like that that you kind of want to add to your game and build to your game, that have to be synergistic, right? Like, so like when and this kind of came about because Fred was asking like, how do I get good at jiu-jitsu and stuff, and it was like, okay, you're not just going to train like a bunch of moves that you like. They have to kind of make sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're going to be a spider guard player, don't train, a billion, judo throws. If your goal is to pull guard and play spider guard, just as an example, kind of crude example and stuff. And so then like, and everything else that you're training that you should train should have some sort of synergy within like your jiu-jitsu, just like your deck does. We were talking a little bit earlier about like how to get better at jiu-jitsu, and you were telling me a story about like the tech. We're gonna hopefully get a chance to kind of film some tech and stuff. But we were talking about like this one sequence that has a funny story behind it.
Yeah, should I go for it?
Yeah.
All right. So way back, say COVID time.
That's not that way back.
It's like 5 years ago, almost 6-ish.
Oh my God.
It's been a little while. Yeah.
Still not way back, but that 6 years is a bit.
It's back enough.
6 years is a bit. Way back to me is like a decade or more.
Yeah, that's fair. That is kind of way back. Yeah. That's further back. But during like 2020, when the world shut down and gyms weren't quite as accessible as they are once again now, thank God. I had some home mats and I was having friends come in and train. What was it called? We were sharing our bubble or whatever. Co-mingling.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So one of my goals at the time, I was really into shin on shin, spider guard to triangle, that specific setup and submission. So my goal through the year was...
Wait, hold on. Shin on shin.
Shin on shin plus spider. And then you hit the off balance, they fall into the triangle. You shoot the triangle up as they fall through.
I definitely need to see this.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll do it later. But you flick the shin on shin, you extend out the triangle. I think of it as if they're kind of like slipping on ice. Because you're bringing them on like opposite diagonals.
Right.
And so you could do this off of the collar sleeve if you're like Homolo style. If you need a little bit extra posture break, if you're fighting someone maybe a little bit bigger, better posture. Or you could go double sleeve, which
I think I understand now. So like, so I call that a captain's hook.
Okay.
Yeah. So like when you hook the ankle and you lift it, to kind of off balance something. Yeah. Because I'm thinking shin to shin where you're like hugging the knee.
Yeah, no, not necessarily with the hug.
Yeah. Okay.
Generally more spider.
Yeah.
But so I repped that technique 10,000 times, just every other day, 5 or 6 minutes a day, whenever we were training. And towards the end of the year, like I kind of just barely made it in time. I hit my 10,000 reps and I was so happy. And I let my buddy, shout out Matty Morrow, I let him know that I'd finished my 10,000 rep goal. And he was like, that's amazing. 10,000 each side? And I was like, no, 10,000 total, 5,000 each side. And he was like, oh, so you only did it 5,000 times. And I was shattered. I was like, how could you say that? I still think about that to this day. But yeah, it's still a technique that I really, really like. And I pull it out.
That is kind of funny, like feeling like you're there and then realizing you're only halfway there.
I was heartbroken, but I was like, you're so right. But yeah, it's a move that I still really, really love. And to circle back to Magic, I suppose, in a way, right? Like, I would call this like a pet move. It's a move that I really love. Of course, like I have other spider technique, and I like keeping
yeah.
people in that range. But
that's an interesting term, pet move.
yeah, pet move, right? So to
What my
circle
pet
back to
move
like
is.
the deck building
Yeah.
thought, right? In a game of Magic or in a round of Jiu Jitsu, you need to know your win conditions and you need to play to your outs,
Right.
right? So if your win condition is you're going to footlock the guy, maybe you shouldn't be looking for shin on shin triangles, even if it is your pet move.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It kind of is non-compatible with your
That's
win
the thing.
condition.
Win conditions.
Your
Like,
win
what's your
condition.
jujitsu
Yeah.
win condition?
And then to play to your outs would be to navigate into your win conditions, you know? So sure, maybe I have spider guard right now, but if my ultimate goal is I want to footlock you, then I need to navigate there. I need to play to my
Right.
out to find my win
you need to
condition.
create the openings, the opportunities, and you know, you got it. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's exactly
So
it.
like when constructing a deck for a game of Magic, if I just really, really like this little like card with a frog on it because it's cute, but it's not going to help me beat the other guy, but he's kind of like my emotional support card, and I draw the card and
Your
I'm like,
emotional
oh, I
support
got my
frog."
frog. But like, I'm never going to cast this creature, and even if I did, like, it's not going to impact the game. It's
So that's
not
what I'm saying.
playing to my
That's why to me, like, I think that's the allure of
Yeah.
like Magic is the whole, you know, the deck building process and then executing cool ass moves.
Mhm.
You know, and that's how jiu-jitsu is to me, right? It's
Yeah.
like, you know, doing a bunch of jiu-jitsu, and of course I can do just the meta.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you know, if I want to, you know, be a shin to shin spider guard expert, you know, and that's my pet move, and I just want to play that game, you need to create like a whole structure around it. and all that
Exactly.
stuff.
This is
Word.
also kind of like the idea we've talked before about the artist versus the athlete,
Yeah.
right? Expressing jujitsu for the sake of expressing that jujitsu versus with a single-minded goal of trying to win, right? Trying to express jujitsu and trying to win can sometimes be a little bit specific or conflictual.
I would say that it's kind of contrarian,
Yeah.
you know, because expressing jiu-jitsu doesn't necessarily mean that you want that, you know, the ultimate goal of jiu-jitsu is to subdue your opponent, right?
Mhm.
And how you go about that and why you go about that can be very contrarian. You know what I mean? So like, you know, I may want to subdue my opponent based on like, you know, the artistry that I display in my jiu-jitsu. And the why is super important because, you know, if the reason I want to do is just to express myself artistically, then how I get there is kind of singular.
Yeah.
But if the reason, the why, is because I want to win the gold medal, then it can be very contrarian, right? It can be like, you know, like throw the artistry out and just play the meta game, just you know, play the meta deck,
Yeah.
right? Like only do the stuff that gives you the highest chance of victory and stuff. And sometimes there's no artistry in that. It can be uninspiring. I know that, like, for example, you know, we were just talking about like with the adults versus masters,
Yeah.
like you like if you're gonna play the metagame in jiu-jitsu, in adults jiu-jitsu, especially at the featherweight and below, you have to have a double guard pull game.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you want to stay on top and pass. You still have to play the double guard pull, you know, and you have to understand like that small little area, and you know, you have to understand footwork passing. You have to understand, you know, like off balancing and all that stuff. And as much as you don't want to do that stuff, if you want to win at the highest level, you have to kind of take away your artistry and focus on the metagame. And sometimes that sucks.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be
restrictive.
not only restrictive, but it can burn you out trying to get good at it.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Yeah.
If you kind of engage with it for longer than maybe you have the tolerance for.
Yeah. Because
But I guess at the end of the day, though, that original question, like how do you get good at jiu-jitsu, this is also quite subjective. You know, there are a lot of training room killers that don't ever go compete who have totally off meta games and they'll still beat you up, you know?
yeah, that's true. That is true. It's just like sometimes you have people that are super good on the mats but suck at competition.
Yeah.
But then some people that like win everything but then they suck on the mats, and you're just like, how the F is he
Doesn't
like on the
always make
podium and I
sense.
can never and I can't get there. What the
Yeah.
you know? Have you ever done anything you know, relative to training to help you get good at jiu-jitsu? I bring that up because I have a funny story about like, you know, using interesting supplements to get good at
Okay.
jiu-jitsu.
Man, so other than kind of like a lot of the very normal and tried and true stuff. Like I'm pretty dedicated to a supplement regimen that is not code word for steroids. Look at me. I'm just talking about like creatine. I take a fish oil, multivitamin, very normal stuff. Protein powder. I don't eat meat. I do eat fish, but I don't eat meat. So have to make sure my protein is up. Literal, very normal things for training. And then just being consistent. So I wouldn't say within the goal of getting good, but one time that I went a little overboard for the sake of jiu-jitsu actually had to do with healing an injury from jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So I had a really strange injury 2 weeks after I got my blue belt. So it was my first comp as a blue belt. And I was in closed guard and I was cross collar choking my opponent. And he was a former wrestler. So instead of posturing or grip breaking, he sprawled on me in my cross collar choke in my closed guard. And I broke my hand in between our chests.
Shit.
Yeah, so my hand broke, spiral fracture on a...
Spiral fracture on your hand?
Fracture. Yeah, so actually like my pinky and ring finger on my right hand are shorter than on my left because the bones sank into my hand from the fracture.
Oh my God.
So that was also the strangest jiu-jitsu injury I've ever gotten. Everything else has made sense to me, but this cross-collar
Yeah, because
choke,
jiu-jitsu injuries are
closed
supposed to
guard,
make sense.
it was... Honestly, a lot of them are super explainable. This one, I was just like, that was not what you were supposed to do. But I started going a little cuckoo. And so I was just reading all sorts of probably questionable internet articles about bone mending. Of course, first thing I did was hit like a supplement routine, calcium, magnesium, all of that stuff, like minerals to heal the bone, high protein diet, went vegan for about 6-8 weeks. But then I started.
Wait, is this how like is this how you're vegetarian or vegan?
No, I was
Is this
already
how,
a
like...
vegetarian before then. But
you went vegan.
I also
Okay.
removed
All right,
like
cool.
alcohol,
Yeah.
dairy products.
Yeah,
I was just like, we're gonna keep the cleanest stuff coming in so I can heal this as fast as possible. Get back on the mats. Because figure at the time I was only maybe about 1.5 years into jiu-jitsu at this point, and I had some goals I wanted to work towards. It was a week after I got my blue belt. It was terrible timing.
Yeah.
So
especially that first promotion.
Yeah. And immediately, 1 week later, like I was originally signed up for this comp as a white belt, and then I got promoted, and then I emailed them and I was like, hey, I got to move up to the blues. And they were like, okay, no problem. And then like third match of the day, break my hand. So
this happened in comp.
this happened in comp.
Oh,
This was at Grappling Industries.
Of course it's at Grappling Industries.
Yeah, dude sprawled on me in my closed guard in a choke. So I go to the hospital, hands broken, yada, yada. But the internet of articles, the questionable medical advice. So I read an article that said that the purr of a cat would have the same frequency as bone mending. Very hippy dippy stuff. I had a cat, so that was very convenient for me. I didn't have to go find one. So everywhere I went, and I was pretty much in my house for the majority of this, I would walk around holding my cat in my cast. So I have my cat with me everywhere like I'm a super villain, you know? And that was stage one.
Oh my God.
That was stage one here. So I'm moving around the house. I'm just doing nothing but reading a ton of books, carrying my cat everywhere.
Trying to
make it happy so it'll purr, you know, so that I could heal my bone faster. So then I read a suspiciously similar article. It turns out that not just cat purrs, but also the frequency of gold vibrates at the same frequency as bone mending also. So the next
you're not gonna be you're not beating the TISM claims.
Hell no. I never had a chance. So the next level here was now I obviously needed to wear as many gold chains as possible. But why would I wear them on my neck? My hand is injured. I was wearing crucifixes and any, like, whatever, like my St. Anthony's medallion from when I was like baptized, all of it on my hand, hanging out with my cat 24/7, reading books.
I mean, honestly, I guess you don't have anything else that you can
Nothing.
do. So
you know what
why
the worst
not?
part was?
You know
how like
why not carry around your cat?
Yeah,
you
there
know,
are worse things
looking
you
like
can do.
Mike Tyson on your hand.
They're way worse.
Or not Mike Tyson, like Mr. T.
Yeah. But one of the worst things when you're injured is being separated from your jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah.
And so I would try to visit and hang out during training. And unfortunately for me, there are tons of guys. Spencer, like he's been in here, even though he's been a little banged up lately, and he's always in here. He's still learning, watching, and hanging out like with the guys, right? But at that point in time, maybe it'd be different now, but I realized very quickly that I could not be around jiu-jitsu when I couldn't participate.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of like
That's
really
interesting
bitter
because
to me.
I would say that, like, you know, jiu-jitsu people,
It's a
jiu-jitsu
mild
people
addiction.
that like, you know, that when a lot of jiu-jitsu people get injured
Yeah.
and stuff, it's really hard to keep them off the mats.
Yeah.
And keep them away from the dojo and all that stuff. And part of that is, I think, you know, there's a certain kind of person that, you know, falls in love with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I do believe that jiu-jitsu and grappling, martial arts and stuff, are for everybody, one way or another. I truly believe that. You know, that was interesting. I wonder if they got picked up, but I truly believe that it all just depends on how someone is introduced to the martial art.
Yeah.
But with jiu-jitsu specifically, the kinds of people that really fall in love with it are some really weird people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Again, the claims are, you know, most jiu-jitsu people are either autistic or gay if they're good at jiu-jitsu.
I mean,
Otherwise, you're just average.
Yeah.
But the one thing is that, like, you know, they just, you know, they'd rather train with a broken leg than get their leg fixed.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and we say that because, you know, we'll break a, you know, a ligament and
You
stuff like
work
that. And
around
it's
the
like,
injuries,
and
the
it's like,
classic,
you
right?
find out that you have a tear, you get the MRI, they say you need surgery. And the first question is, how soon can you get on the mats?
Yeah.
You know, they say 6 months. And your response to that is like, all right, well, then I'm just not going to get the surgery.
Yeah.
That's usually the thing. You know, people break a finger and it's like, you know, I'd rather just tape it up than go get it fixed. And, you know, most of the time, you know, it's fine, but it's still a little kind of crazy, right? Anybody else would be like, all right, well, I guess I'm out and I'm going to take care of this. Jiu-jitsu people, nah. But you can't be around jiu-jitsu if you're hurt.
So
Explain that.
Yeah, I just like, I would drop in and visit. I'd hang out on the wall. I'd watch technique. I'd chat. I would watch the
Would it give you like
sparring.
depression? Is that?
Yeah, it made me really sad that I couldn't be like in the mix and participating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah.
With that. I can understand that.
so, and also I did decline a surgery with my hand. It just seemed very much like they really wanted to do surgery. So I was like, I don't really want to do that.
Well, surgeons always want to do surgery.
Exactly. It's what they do.
Yeah.
But the nature of the injury, especially with the spiral and like the potential rotation because the hand broke at the angle, the surgeon was telling me, he was like, hey, look, if you let this heal and it's not properly aligned, when you make a fist, you're going to be crossing your fingers. So I was like, that's scary, but I will still decline.
Okay.
And at the end of it, when he realized I would not agree, he was very like curt with me. And he was just like, okay, well, I'll see you in 6 to 8 weeks. And if it's messed up, I'm going to break it and fix it. And I was like,
yeah,
oh,
that's
okay.
typically how it is, right?
Yeah.
So like, you know, if it heals wrong, then they have to just break it and do it again.
Yeah.
Break it and do it again.
Yeah.
And stuff.
So I kind of rolled the dice on that one to not do the surgery, but
And it healed good?
It healed perfectly fine. And honestly, like, I credit the recovery and like the
Not
proper
your
bone
cat.
setting, not to the cat. Although it was a 6 to 8 weeker, and I was good in 6. So maybe
I'm not gonna
it did something.
look. I'm not gonna lie. You just said spiral bone fracture.
Yeah.
Doctors highly recommended surgery.
Yeah.
Even I would say if it's a spiral bone fracture,
Yeah.
most likely need surgery.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that you healed in 6 weeks, holding a cat purring. I actually
No. I also was wrapped in gold chains.
I actually think that I actually think that you just gave it credence.
Maybe I could have.
Because that sounds crazy to me.
But to be fair, the nurse at Langone, she did a really good job. Like, I don't know, she like pulled out and she rotated and then put the cast on. I have no idea whether like she must have been looking at the X-ray or if she approximated whatever she did. Magic touch, and you know they're not crossing, so I'm good. But I don't have knuckles anymore.
Oh my God.
They sunk in.
Well, you have this one, but yeah, you
Yeah.
don't have that one.
Yeah.
Compare.
Look,
In the
especially-
camera.
Oh yeah, look at that. If you look at the right to the left,
Let's see if we can give it some light.
yeah, I'm a little bit shorter on those. Yeah, but and another thing there, interesting other little, I suppose, lesson. I think there's maybe a section of the jiu-jitsu population who gets their first more significant injury, and then they like kind of come to their senses and they're like, "What am I doing? I need to get away from this." And then
there are some people
Yeah.
that like, you know, you get injured and you know, it any injury can be traumatic, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, you know, if it's traumatic enough, it can keep you away from training and stuff like that. We have actually a student that Renato, who he injured himself at an open mat, and he had to take some time away. He's back to training, but he won't come to open mat only because of only because it's traumatic.
That's interesting.
You know, and I have to ask him if it's okay to share that. But yeah, he won't come back to open mat just because, oh, that's when I got injured. And I'm like, yeah, well, you don't have to train with, like, you know, visitors. You could just come to open mat and train with people that, you know, you already train with.
I mean, it's
and
the
it's
same
still
risk
kind
profile.
and it's still kind of like, he just still doesn't want to come.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of an example. And then you have the people that have traumatic experience, and they're like, well, I'm not coming back because of, you know, the trauma.
I guess there's degrees to it, but I think it's almost like a miniature test that over a long enough timeline, every grappler will go through, where you have your first kind of like more big boy injury, and
or
then
big
you
girl.
come, or big girl injury, or anywhere in between, and then you come back and it hasn't shook your resolve in any way, and you're just like, I knew this would happen. This comes for us all, and yeah, I think that it kind of increases your own staying power within the sport when you overcome that first, like, fairly significant injury. And your resolve stays firm to continue. I think it's I think there's something there.
I think so too. I mean, especially because you know, a unique thing about jiu-jitsu is that it teaches you how to overcome really bad situations.
Yeah.
And I talk about this often, where it's like, if you take any skill from doing jiu-jitsu, it's just learning how to mentally overcome bad situations. Because from day one, the very first position that you're taught is to be in a bad situation and how to get out of it, at least here at the dojo. And if from day one you're just reinforcing that attribute as a skill, not panicking under pressure, being able to get out of a bad situation, and then just doing that over and over again, you can just translate that to anything, you know. And you know, not just jiu-jitsu situations or life situations, but an injury. You know, injury is just a bad situation. Don't panic. Find your way out of it and keep it moving.
Control the controllables. Try to stay generally optimistic. But every time we go through, I suppose, any kind of adversity, it's kind of a muscle that we train, right? And I think that maybe in jiu-jitsu, people who grapple, maybe we're working that muscle a little bit more than the general population.
Yeah, working that muscle.
But yeah, that is so true.
All right, so I have a question that I think I'm gonna, like, actually ask in every podcast.
Sick. What's up?
The last one with Tony, I asked him best pizza spot in New York, and I believe you like pizza.
Yeah, I love pizza.
Yes.
I think it's actually
like, where does pizza rank in your, like?
It's unfortunately high up. Whenever.
Why is that unfortunate?
So, whenever I'm, like, cutting weight, prepping for an event,
it's very
the things that are most likely to tug at my soul is pizza and beer. And so, like, pizza, it's just dangerous to be around when you have something on the horizon, right? But gosh, I mean, I'm a half Italian American New Yorker. Of course, I love pizza, you know.
Yeah.
But I do have
favorite
an answer to
slice.
that question. Favorite slice.
Favorite, or rather, favorite kind of slice, and favorite place to have pizza at.
Okay. All right. So favorite slice, classic but elevated. Just a margarita slice, fresh margarita slice. Just a slightly better plain cheese, you know.
Actually, I agree with that.
And then I do have a little bit of a bias for the neighborhood. I really love Rosie's.
Ooh,
I really
that's
love
right.
Rosie's.
So
Yeah.
Rosie's Pizza.
Yeah, I like pretty much everything
we had
about
Rosie's
it.
recently.
I like the pizza's phenomenal. I like that they have the, like, Negroni menu. They have many different Negronis. I like that it's within my neighborhood, 10-minute walk away from me. Everything about that just feels really right. And one of those outside factors to me that makes me choose Rosie's in particular is I always kind of wanted to have, like, a neighborhood spot, whether it be a restaurant,
like, that's my
a bar.
spot.
Yeah. And so I grew up in Staten Island. Everything is very disconnected and spread apart, very suburban. And so there really wasn't a natural neighborhood place for me.
That's
moving
interesting
to
because like
Bushwick-
Staten Island is supposed to be like known for pizza.
Oh, absolutely. It has great pizza, but like you would have to drive to go there.
Yeah.
I've always wanted the feeling of a neighborhood place.
Yeah.
And so like living in Bushwick, I could take my pick of any neighborhood place.
Yeah.
But with beer and pizza ranking so high on my charts personally, Rosie's is a very natural selection to me.
Rosie's hits.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to have Rosie's tonight. Yeah. Yeah, no, the reason I kind of it kind of came up and why I wanted to ask the questions because not too long ago we had, and this kind of just goes back to like the magic conversation.
Yeah.
It's funny how we keep going back and forth, back and forth. But I was talking to Vikey recently about how in the current generation of people, of kids and stuff like that, they're growing up. You know, their social experiences, social media, online gaming, everything online.
Yeah.
Very little to do with, you know, like meeting people, hanging out outside and stuff like that. And jiu-jitsu kind of gives you that.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it gives you a community and all that. Martial arts in general gives you a community and whatnot. But the other thing is that I grew up, you know, like when I was a kid, you know, playing video games and stuff like that, playing card games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's something you had to go to someone's house,
Split screen,
to go hang out. Yeah,
LAN
split
party.
exactly, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Stop looking at my
And then
screen.
and Vikey had said that that like, oh well, I'm kind of doing that when we do our Wednesday night magic joints.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, we had like a really cool like, you know, night where you had like people playing magic, people playing the arcade games. We had pizza and all that stuff, and it was like the most nostalgic thing ever.
It was.
Do you feel like that is being lost, or is that being brought back?
Very interesting. I think maybe a little bit of both. I think we have lost it for a while, and I also can't totally talk on it because I'm not, you know, a teenager right now today, so I don't fully know their experience to be 100% fair. But optically, it looks like there are less kids in the driveway playing wiffle ball.
That's true.
Know?
There's less kids in the driveway. That's actually an easy way.
Yeah,
You know
like
what I mean?
that's my
Because
first.
Back in the day, it was like you're driving by and they're playing basketball. They're like, you know, playing wiffle ball or whatever, or even like, you know, chalk on the sidewalk and all that stuff.
Yeah,
like at least me growing up.
I see a lot less of that in general.
Yeah.
So that kind of guides the assumption I'm making. But the next half here, my thought that it could be making a comeback is we already see a lot of kind of 90s nostalgia. We went through a wave of like 80s nostalgia. And I think we're also hitting a wave of physical media comeback. I think people in general are pissed about subscription services and never owning the things they pay for. So I think things like, in general, collecting and having physical possession, I think that's making a resurgence. And something about that makes me think that this will also hit older, perhaps video game systems. Games like Magic, card games are making a resurgence. And just general collectible culture, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, the thing is, like, when it comes to collectibles, it's because nothing's being made anymore and nothing is being owned. Like, all the old stuff is now worth even more.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because they're not making any more of it, right? Like, when's the last time that anybody buys a video game at a store anymore? Everything's downloaded.
Oh, gosh.
And even if you bought a video game at the store, you still have to download the other half of the game.
Yeah.
So,
and now it's like you buy a case that has a code in it. It doesn't hold any...
Wait, what?
Yeah, so the Nintendo Switch 2, if you buy the physical game, a lot of them just have like download codes in them. Like you're buying a case.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Defeats
check me
the
on
purpose-
that, but...
I don't know, but like defeats the purpose of going to the store to buy the game.
Yeah, because you don't actually... You can hold something, but
you can
you're
just
not holding it.
Buy the game online if you got to download it.
Exactly. Like, why bother? But, you know, especially with something like that, like... Yeah, I think back, even the idea of video games, like as a kid, like hanging out, friend's basement, we got to go there. You got to set up the Guitar Hero. You got to plug
Chinese
it
food.
in. Yeah, all of this.
Waiting online to
And
buy the game, like
typically,
waiting for like the game to come out.
Like my neighborhood, when I was a kid, luckily we had a lot of different households with kids my age.
Yeah.
So, and we were quite organized, I would say. But like everything we did had like a component of a league to it. Like we would do like a street hockey league. We would do a wiffle ball league. We would do like a touch football league. And so we would keep track not just of like the game we're playing, but like the records that we hold through however long we deem the season. So like there was always like an organized element to it, to the play. But then, like, you play a game of football, and then afterwards you're gonna order food, you're gonna play some video games.
Yeah.
Generally, we would play like Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something about
Guitar
this.
Hero was so good.
And like Guitar Hero doesn't seem to me like a game that would thrive online. I think it's probably dead for a reason because it needs to be done in person. But I hope that stuff makes more of a comeback, because just in general, like, here's like a really lame thing that people say in Magic, at least, right? Like, it's about the gathering.
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
So like Magic is also
That's not that lame.
Yeah, no, it's not lame. It's maybe a little bit live, laugh, love, but like it is.
That's pretty lame. Live, laugh, love. Well, that's pretty lame.
To me, the gathering, to say like, yeah, Magic, it's about the gathering, is a little live, laugh, love, but it is true. So like, there's an online component even to this, but I think playing in paper, face to face with other people is very important. I think that you cannot get past the social element, and I think that that's the greater part of the value. I think the game is kind of like the means to the end. If we gather,
it's just the engine. It's just it's just a vehicle that's kind of creating the
what
gathering,
it's really doing is it's bringing people together to hang out.
Yeah, like Jiu Jitsu does.
Exactly.
Like pizza.
Exactly. Like all of these.
Like all the good things in life.
These excellent things. They bring people together, and that is the experience. It's not necessarily about playing cards. It's about being together, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm down with that. I think it's about time that we finish the game, get some tech on video.
Yeah, let's go.
You know what I mean? All right. Well, so once again, thank you for watching the episode. If you like this episode, please make sure you like, rate, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace. Thank you.
That was fun.